hold of one of Matt's, and I don't know which, but I didn't have anything, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'll make sure he sets my right number. He texted me and asked if we were gonna have a forum, and I said, well, I haven't heard that anyone else wouldn't be here, so. He said he probably wouldn't be back till 6:30, so I figured we'd be okay without Worksession. Okay. Ready? Yes. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started with the Syracuse Board of Zoning Appeals. Since this is our very first meeting for the year, one of the things that we do is start off the year by nominating and electing a chairperson and a vice chair, or a president and vice president, for the board for the remainder of the year. We as a board last year discussed and thought that a great way to share the wealth would be to rotate it based upon seniority. So I was very honored to follow up Randy with his seniority. Then I moved into the chairperson. So I've served my year and appreciate the support, and obviously a great board out here. So with that being said, I'd like to open nominations for the next chairperson, and I would like to bring up the nomination of Brandon to move from vice chair to chair, if you would accept. I would accept. Okay. Okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of chairperson? Not hearing any, we'll close the nominations and vote. All those in favor of Brandon, please say aye. All those opposed? Congratulations. Thank you. The other thing, as far as seniority wise, the next person in line for the vice chair would be Kim. She is currently taking care of her health, and but she does expect to be back very soon, later this spring. So, but in that situation where she will not be here during the next couple of meetings, she is okay and has agreed that we can skip over her and come back and catch her up. So next person in seniority, and since he's not here, this is a great railroad move. To nominate. So when he walks in, we'll congratulate him. But at this time, I'd like to nominate Jason to be our next vice chairperson. Are there any other nominations? Oh, well, first of all, is there a second on that? Okay. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chair? None hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Railroad him right into that position. So, okay. Yeah. Yep. Well, congratulations. So how our meetings flow, and some of you have been here before, but Matt Sandy will call the case up for the public hearing, whether it's an exception or a variance request. He'll give us some detail, and then we ask that the petitioner come up in here. Start off with your name and address, so that's part of our official record, and then give us the details on what you are planning or requesting to do. After you've had a chance to make that presentation, we may have some questions up here that we may need to ask for clarification, and then we will open a meeting to public comment. We'll ask for anyone that is in favor of us granting the variance or exception, and then we'll ask for those that are opposed or those that just have general comments to make. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak on that particular exception or variance, we'll close the meeting to public comment, but then give you, as the petitioner, an opportunity to answer any of those concerns. If we come up with maybe conditions to make everyone as happy as can be, hopefully, we'll see if you accept those conditions and adjust your exception or variance request. After that, we will close the meeting to public comment and reply, and then we'll discuss and vote on it right tonight. After afterwards, we do have a couple pieces of paper that we need to note and jot down our thoughts as far as why we chose to vote that way. So that's how our meeting flows. With just two cases, it should be a quick one for all of us tonight. Thank goodness. So if you would, Matt, please start us off with our first case.
Sure, and actually, we can take the two cases together, same property, intertwined issues, so, and then motion on them separately. But the first one we have is exception 2026-9, and this is for Ridgestone Development. And this is for petition for exception of purpose allowing an expansion of existing multifamily use in a residential district. Property is located on the east side of Acorn Street and 0 feet north of Boston in the town of Syracuse. Along with that, then, we have variance 2026-18 for Ridgestone, and this is a petition for variance for purpose allowing 168 parking spaces where ordinance would require 440. Same property, same location. Dan's actually got the property pulled up there as well as the site plan for you. So two hearings. The exception is dealing strictly with the use. Back in 2021, you'll remember that we did have the original hearing to convert the school into apartments, and that hearing passed, went through. Then we had another hearing in 22 to allow for the expansion of that, taking the number of units up. With this petition now, they're looking at expanding that again. In this case, because the school building has been maximized, essentially, they're looking at standalone buildings. You'll see those on the site plan. And that's an exception portion, but strictly looking at the use. For the variance, under the zoning ordinance, all multifamily uses, condos, apartments, whatnot, have to have 4 units or 4 parking spaces per unit. That went into play at one time, especially with the lakes in mind, knowing that holidays and whatnot is when the parking usually gets a little tighter. In this case, the original use that did go in there in 21 for the apartments that in the school park did have variance to reduce that parking down. If you can see on the site plan, their parking that was approved at that time was on the south side of Brooklyn Street, the old school lot, and then they had parking along the west side, and then actually in the rear there's parking. Now, in this case, the town has also increased the on-street parking. On-street parking does not count towards that equation. Our ordinance requires off-street parking only. Now, they can have on-street, and I think that was one of the rationales for the variances that were granted, because it was a wide right-of-way, and they were granting that to the town. So, that all said, for this hearing, both hearings have been properly advertised and publicized in the newspaper. This is, again, one of the steps towards this. This would not be the final. There still would be other components. We can get into those as well as we go through the hearing if you want.
Okay. The floor is yours, sir.
Oh. Pardon me, my knees after shoveling snow. You guys are lucky. I had 16 inches of snow last night at my house.
That's good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My name's Terry Lang from the Whiteman office. Our address is 1402 Mishawaka Avenue in South Bend.
Terry, if you would, towards the board, and then if they got questions, you'll get to ask them and answer.
Terry Lang from the Whiteman office. Our address is 1402 Mishawaka Avenue in South Bend. We represent the petitioners here. As Matt had indicated, the variances that we're asking for is to continue with the multifamily development from the old school onto what was the playground and part of the parking lot there. As Matt had indicated, the requirement is 4 parking spaces. Most likely these units are probably going to be 2 parking spaces would be what would be needed probably. Most of them are going to be 1, 2. I don't know if there's going to be any 3-bedroom apartments or not. We are proposing 42 new apartments. So with that being said, we took that 42, figured 2 parking spaces for each one of those units, and the parking layout that you're looking at right there has just a little bit more than that. We added a couple handicap spots for some of the spaces that also in each of those units. But the configuration kind of buffers the residents to the south. And I'm going to point on the screen up here to help two buildings on this side right here, parking's gonna be located between the two buildings in that location, providing about a 75-foot setback from, Boston Street, and that area will be landscaped in there. In fact, earlier in the years, I think they planted, evergreens down along there, and it's gonna be doing more, as the site develops. Like I said, all the parking spaces will be between the two buildings, and then north of the second building, we have it set up as an area reserved for, taking care of retention on the site. Stormwater that's developed from this is going to be kept on site. We will only release what is allowed if necessary. There's an overflow currently that runs from the street parking lot down to the ditch when they did the previous, development for the parking along the street out there, for the first phase of the apartments in the old school. On the, west side of the street, similar situation. We've got a single building here. We're going to be located north of the power line right there. The power line, when the, alley was vacated down through, the utilities reserved that right for the power line, and we told them we would design around that appropriately so that it wouldn't have to be relocated. Relocating a major power line like that would be extremely expensive, and the neighbors wouldn't be real happy when power had to be shut off to relocate. The parking lot on that end will be located to the north of it, between the school and the building right here. I heard you ask questions with regards to your residence right there. The parking area right there, it's still gonna be parking in this front area right here between it, but this portion of it here is currently all just sheet draining to a single inlet located at the corner of that intersection right there. That inlet's probably at times flooded because of the extreme amount of asphalt that drains to that, which we will be addressing with our drainage plan to make sure all of that's being incorporated into our plan to keep on site. So with that being said, the, on-street parking along the north side up here that was not included in that count because it's in the street right away, there's, I believe, 36 parking spaces in that area. So I've kind of excluded those because they are right-of-way type things, as Matt had indicated that can't be counted with that. With regards to, each of these, buildings will be utilizing the athletic facilities then that are located in the school. It has a nice gym set up in there for kind of like a health club, and these units will be able to take advantage of that also. With regards to, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have specifically with regards to the plan.
Terry, I know that one of the things is the ditch setback, and has that been addressed with the drainage board yet?
We have petitioned the drainage board. That comes up for hearing next week. And what Matt is referring to is along the side, there's, on the opposite side of the drive here, going back to the back side of the school, is the county ditch. There's a 75-foot ditch easement on that. We were asking for a variance of about 10 foot on this side right here, the ends of these buildings, in talking with the drainage board people there, with access on that existing drive that's already there, they could very easily get in to clean, do maintenance on the ditch without having to need the entire 75 foot. We're only gonna take what's necessary for those two buildings right there on the ends right there. And like I say, that, petition comes up next week.
Just because it comes up in different aspects, it's usually an afterthought. Have they thought dumpster locations, how they?
I had heard that from one of the residents right here, and at this point, I haven't picked a location with regard to it, and I know that concern has been a problem, and we'll try to work with the local people here that had problems with dumpster locations previously. Yeah. With, multiple locations, we can, locate them. They have to be in a location where a truck can come in, pick it up in the front and dump it. That's usually the biggest concern. If they were down on this end, they probably came in this way or this way to pick up the dumpsters in that location. And if we reposition them to another location, as long as they can get to them, I can work with the developers in this case and say, we need to move those to satisfy. I know when you have large dumpsters, yeah, you'll get odors, particularly in the summertime.
Yeah.
And when you're cooking in your backyard, you get the wind coming from the other direction, it's a concern. So we will position them in such fashion, maybe they can be positioned on the back side of the buildings, on this side over here, away from your
We
residence.
suggested that before.
Okay, well, and I think they
And
were
we saw where
probably,
that went.
we probably were working with that with regards to when this phase of phase two right here that we're working with, that it could be addressed. Because I don't know, I wasn't part of phase one, so I don't know if this area was addressed, other than the existing parking lot's gonna stay. So,
When, I'm not sure who from your organization presented to the town council with the request of vacating.
I was here for the
Oh,
vacation,
okay, the planning lot, and I'm not sure if it was a member or the council's attorney, that asked if all of the vacated, plat streets and alleys were going to be combined to it. Shannon, would you mind, I see, click on like the bottom right area and,
Well, for the next one down.
yeah, next one down, so click right there is that's separate. So they have not been combined yet?
no, not yet.
And Matt, that was also a condition of the first hearing. So that's kind of something that's hanging out there that I'd say.
There will have to be a plat, kind of merging all of those
Yeah.
together. But the first step is, if we don't get variances, the plat, no reason to create a plat at this point, because it's throwing good money out the window. But now that utilities were located out here, utilities were only located in that east-west alleyway, which is a high overhead power line down through there. There weren't any utilities located in the north-south alleys that were part of that vacation petition.
Yeah.
Madam, I just,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say, it looks like, as far as the vacation has been noted.
Yeah.
On here, but they have not been.
Right.
I thought that was a condition of our first meeting, that they had to be deeded.
It was, and that's been something we've been pursuing off and on, and this is.
So those cannot be sold separately regardless of.
Well, that needs to be done. Yeah, I mean, that would defunct the first hearing and cause all kinds of issues. I'd say if you are approving it, reiterate that with the condition that it's done before any permits are issued. And there's a number of different ways of doing it. Terry hit on one.
It
One
can
way to
be
do it.
done by merger of deeds, and
Yeah.
a single deed merging, and it can be done as a plat.
Yeah.
The advantages of the plat is we can also document the easement locations of the utilities that run east and west across there, as well as the storm drains that exist up on the northern portion up here that were installed with phase one. Those could be incorporated on a plat, so documentation of where those utilities are of record, instead of just, they were vacated and they're out there someplace.
Right.
And the developer has no problems, complying with that request to merge those parcels either by deed or by plat. I'm gonna suggest plat. It's a little more documentation wise, easier to track.
I mean, since you've gone through the time to have the town vacate, it's like, well, let's continue.
Yeah, and we can talk more in depth about that. There's a couple things that would concern me a little bit with it, with some case law we've got and having others sign off on it. But we can talk more about
Okay.
that aspect.
So my other question was, for case 2026-18, that's showing we're having 168 parking spaces. I'm getting 122.
There's also parking spaces on the backside of the school,
Yeah,
up here.
Gotcha.
and those aren't.
There's
delineated.
46 back there, okay. That would put me right where we needed to be.
Since you're on the drainage part.
Yeah, we'll open it up in just a moment. Cause obviously, the dumpsters is one thing that she can speak on, and any drainage you can speak on. But first, our question, while he's presenting.
Sure. So are all of these circle X's where you guys are proposing manholes? Where are your drains located as far as getting water to the retention basin?
Drainage plan has not been developed on this yet, most likely we'll cut this way down, basin,
Okay.
across this way. And then
But there will be
There
manholes.
will be catch basins in the parking lot to take the water to the basin area.
I think those are like,
If you
Yeah,
look down the
yeah.
center, those are like, yeah,
Okay.
they located specific holes so that they can make sure they know what's in that eastern area.
So setback wise, we're looking 75 feet from Boston. An adjustment from the ditch.
Right.
And then how's our set from the houses over on 6 feet, the
Setback line along that side is, I believe, 10 or 15.
I show 11 on one parking lot and 12 on the corner of Parcel One.
so minimum would be 10 foot off that sidewalk.
Okay.
If it is a residence.
Yeah, okay.
And that would be along here.
And then where the existing paved parking lot is being removed, is that just gonna be grass then?
Yes, it will be
Okay.
part of the landscaping around the perimeter.
Okay.
And it will help also with the stormwater runoff.
And do you have any questions specifically for him before we move on? Terry, I think that's all the questions we have. We'll open it up for public comment, take notes on things that you would like to respond to. So now we'll open it up for the public comment. Those that are either for or against, we welcome your input at this time. If you would, just like he did, start off with your name and address so it's part of our notes and minutes of the meeting. So, who's ever first? Ladies first.
I'm Laura Charles.
Come talk to us.
I'm Laura Charles. I live at 511 on Brooklyn Street. I'm the little blue spot, next to the blue spot, right there at Brooklyn, at the corner of the first unit.
Okay.
Cause I'm kind of sandwiched between there and the parking lot.
So,
Lot 5. If you're looking at your paper there, are you lot 5 then?
27 and 26.
27 and 26.
Oh, right
Okay.
here, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
Now, one of my concerns is how tall are these buildings gonna be? Are they one-story buildings, two-story buildings? Do we have an idea of what?
So what, if you ask all your questions, you'll get the chance to kind of answer everything on the end.
Okay.
Clump, so.
Okay.
So that's one of my initial questions. Right now, we have the trash can, massive dumpster thing there. And initially, on the first project, we were told it was gonna be multiple times during the week being dumped. It's not. Never is. Holiday seasons come up, especially Christmas. It is so overflowed that the cage is full all over the ground and outside of the fencing. That's something I would like to get addressed. If that thing's gotta stay there, we need to get it dumped more often because it gets overfull and then they just throw it on the ground.
Okay. Looking at his proposed layout, where would you suggest, maybe as an idea of where it would be beneficial for you as a homeowner to have their dumpster located?
Well, the design of the parking lot makes it a very hard situation. I
Okay.
mean, initially, we tried to get them to bring it down to this end, but nobody liked that idea. I mean, I don't know if they have one on the back side, but
There is on the high school. And
there is one on the back side.
Okay.
So, there's not a simple solution with the design.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
And unfortunately, I lost out. So if we can at least maintain it better, that would be a considerable thing for me, because I'm constantly picking garbage up out of my yard. There's a little mini fence right there right now, but sometimes when the dumpster guy comes and dumps it, I get garbage in my yard.
Okay,
So that, I would like to get that addressed.
okay.
The flooding issue, I know we've got manhole covers, right in here. We got two of them right in here. We got one right about here and one right about there. And there's one right here that's constant overflow when it gets the heavy rains and the melt of the snows and.
So the ones down by Brooklyn Street, are those maintained by the city or by this
City.
property? So that is probably gonna be a problem for a long while. Mine, I live on Front Street and mine floods. So from what I've been told, they are supposed to be updating the sewer and storm drainage, but that's probably gonna be a 10-15 year project.
Well, some of those,
So,
they've got the asphalt a little bit higher, so the water never gets there.
yeah, that's how mine is. I mean, but I was told that they're working on fixing that, but that wouldn't be a problem with this project. This would be a problem with the town itself. So, which I'm hoping they do get that fixed, but that is a town as far as that problem.
And my other concern is traffic and traffic flow. You got one road in, one road out. So right now, everybody comes in on this road and either goes out that way. They bought this both directions now, so you can go in and out.
Mm-hmm.
They, commandeered the alleyway out as a one-way now. So most people don't go in that way unless they're coming into the back parking lot and parking back there. So that makes an issue for these people over here, because the only way out of this alleyway is a tiny little access point that's right in people's driveways, pretty much.
That would be town as well, wouldn't it?
Cause it's over to the left where Main Street comes out.
Yeah,
So that would also be another thing to talk to the town about. And put your complaints into them, I suppose.
Some of that did come up at the first hearing, and that alley actually crosses onto the private property of the school.
Okay.
And that had happened for years, and I think that,
Was another thing.
the owner, I remember there was an owner who was right abutting it, that was here at that hearing back in the day.
yeah, it gets real tight in there. And if you got 168 vehicles times two, and people.
It does appear they added so that far right one now would also be accessed, so there'd be a parking lot that went through both directions, so there'd be an extra road finally. So that would also kind of help as far as that goes.
Eliminate some of that over.
Yeah, it should. Obviously until it's built, you don't really know. That's all preference of whoever's living in the apartment building is which way they're gonna go in and out as well, you know.
Yeah. These two apartment complex will have access to these. Everybody over here, they're gonna use this road here. All these people here are gonna use this main road.
Right.
So that's a lot of extra traffic that needs to be addressed.
The town made that a one-way road, but we're still a school.
Yes, they did. And then
They reversed it out
Yeah.
for the apartments.
for schools, it made
Makes sense.
you know, kind of pick up, drop off.
So,
And then, of course, with the stop sign, right, at Hollywood
yeah,
/ Brooklyn, so. And depending upon the time of day.
time of day, and GPS, Brooklyn does not exist on GPS. If you ever try to pull up Brooklyn, it says we're Hollywood,
Okay.
which makes it actually difficult for services. And if you're not familiar with the area, like EMS is familiar with my house, my husband has massive heart condition and doesn't do well. He's been having to call the ambulance quite frequently here lately. So, that needs to be addressed. So services that aren't familiar coming in from another territory because your local department is busy, they're not gonna find us. So that needs to be
That would
there.
ultimately end up with that. And I know there was some discussion with Hollywood, when Brooklyn was changed to Hollywood, the downside of changing Brooklyn over to Hollywood is their address changes.
I don't wanna do
No,
that.
and I think we see this a lot with some of the mapping services and unfortunately Google, and it does their own thing.
Yep. So, those are my main concerns, is basically, we're adding a lot of people into the neighborhood. A lot of people. And I do get disruptions quite frequently. And my dog goes crazy, but the fireworks in that area gets to be a little out of control sometimes. This holiday season, someone misfired and it went off right next to my window. Yeah. So I am concerned about the mass quantity of people moving in.
Well, we'll have Terry respond to your concerns. Thank you for bringing them forth. That's why we're here, so. Yeah, yeah. Sir, the floor is yours.
I'm Kurt Lindsay.
Okay.
I live at 406 North Main Street. We weren't here during the time of the first go round. It was Dino and Jeannie Coverstone that lived there. That kind of filled us in what was going on. On the backside, our issue is since they redid the parking lot in the back, the drainage flows to the backside of the old schoolyard. And so all that water flows there, and my shed is actually wanting to flow away sometimes, but it gets pretty full over there. And there is a drain tile there, but it's all plugged with roots and stuff because it comes out on my side of the property, but you can see it run underneath. And I think it's just old tile or whatever filled with roots and garbage, and it needs to be addressed so that way my shed don't float no more, and that back side is always flooded. I've contacted the guy that manages the property and sent him a photo and say, hey, you guys need to unplug your drain or whatever. Real nice about it, you know, he gets back with me. Another issue is the trash. We find a lot of trash in the yard, in the creek. That's probably our two main issues, but we also have a lot of trespassers come through that old back alley there that they shut off between Bob Long, EJ and Michaela Anderson.
Yeah.
Andrews.
He's right, if you zoom in.
Far left,
North line.
far left of that blue line there.
Right here?
Yep. There's an old alleyway that they've abolished right in the corner there, and they walk between the fence and our property thinking that it's it's an open way.
So they're basically walking right through our backyard.
She's been scared to death at 3:30 in the morning because we're out letting the dogs air out, and somebody pops out in black clothes, and I'm like, that's pretty dangerous. And we both carry.
Lucky I didn't carry a weapon,
Yeah.
because that's how people get shot.
We had the same problem with that alley. They got shut down on the backside of the lake, over by the frog. Remember that? They were using that vacated alley because people thought it was still open to walk through.
And they planted pine trees or those, I guess, to kind of keep it hidden. But those are going to take a long time to grow for privacy. I've thought about putting something along my fence, but it's so expensive out of my pocket to try to
In the
keep it
fenced-in yard part of
private.
the school in the back.
And people all the time are over by our fence playing ball or, you know, just, and I love seeing kids out playing, you know, it's great to see them out playing, but something needs addressed
Well,
with.
I don't wanna walk out into my backyard and look at
See
some
happy
scary
people.
Hungarian laying out there in a Speedo sunning himself.
But that's what happens, they all,
That was a good one.
it's a very nice private spot in the back, but it's like, okay, now we're seeing
This is
tons of
unfolding.
activity back here. And that's great, but,
And then
we
when
just-
did his yoga, that was just.
we like the privacy.
cool.
We don't, but that's our main concern is the trespassing, people just walking through there and maybe, I don't know how to go about addressing it besides putting a fence up right there in between there.
Kim, would you come out just a little bit so we could see like, yeah, so, okay.
Good.
In just a little bit.
So I'm
Right there,
right here's it used to be an old alleyway right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so they walk through right here and go right through our yard up to the side.
Right at the northwest corner of
Yeah.
phase one, okay.
Yeah, and here's where the water sits, up in here, in this area. And it's been clear up to my garage before, and this was after they had redid this a couple years ago. Added in the parking lot and that, and, the water has really sitting there now, you know. When we get a heavy rain and the creek comes up to the bank, and starts flowing over the bank, it gets up to my garage. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that lane was used for the fire department, remember, cause
Yeah.
they got their sign on the fence still.
But I've called town before about 2 mattresses being in the creek.
Yeah, that's right. So, where's your shed as going from this floodplain right here?
Oh, my shed is right there.
In
Right
the
there.
yellow.
Under the
Okay.
tree, yeah.
So even if
So-
they,
Yeah.
even if they direct their stormwater,
Yeah.
technically, you're still in a floodplain.
Well, that area was not supposed to be floodplain, from what I gathered.
Yeah.
It's more toward the end of my garage, toward the back side of my garage.
So everything showing up in yellow is the delineated floodplain. And that's, let me make sure
Right on the
here.
edge.
That's FEMA and DNR, so that's,
Yeah.
Is part of
So-
that parking lot part of the floodplain?
there are parts that in the floodplain, I believe, towards the north, and you bump out a little bit, I can't remember if the parking lot actually got into it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
north part.
Yeah.
And then there's,
Cause that floodplain seems to change often.
so that would be based off of the 2015 mapping.
Okay.
That's the most effective mapping that we have.
Yeah. And I know we haven't had large storms for a long time since then, but it's just a matter of time before.
We didn't know.
Yeah, and so trash, and then the drain tile that's coming from their property back toward the creek, and
Cause Dino Coverstone told me, and Bob Long had told me that there used to be, 2 drain tiles back there. Okay. He remembers them as being younger. But the one I did find, the culvert too, that leads, well, I didn't find how it leads under the ground, but I seen the exit spot in the creek, and it's always plugged with roots and stuff. So yeah, it's just old tiles, all it is.
Okay.
It's not something newer, it's not
Okay.
metal or anything, so it needs addressed as far as that goes. And according to Dino, it was supposed to be addressed in the first phase before they could build a parking lot there. Is that theirs, or would that be the town public board?
No, well, I'm guessing, and I'd have to go back and pull the drainage plans we had. There wasn't a significant amount of new hard surface added, so there wasn't a lot of drainage that was needed. It's almost sounding like, if that's an old clay tile, it's all broken down, so I'm guessing it goes back to, it may even go back to, like you said, public works, when this was before even the school was there, or when the school was originally designed. Because I know that we didn't have anything connecting up from the top of my head, connecting up at that point.
So if they're
Cause
not
that was, excuse me,
Oh, you're right.
that was all raised, back there for that playground and stuff added in. So that's what kind of made that, made it work, cause it didn't used to be that bad.
I was gonna say, because otherwise, if it's not, can we legally even do anything to, if it's not being hard surface back there?
Well, if it's in the floodplain and they filled in the floodplain.
Correct, yes, yes.
then yes, we can address some of that drainage, because that's a different ordinance. I don't know if they got the permits to do it or not, that's something we have to check. If it's not hard surface, then it wouldn't be subject to the stormwater control.
Right.
Two different, yeah.
Two different mechanisms, two different regulations that come into play for that.
Kurt, is there anything else you would like us to take into consideration concern-wise?
We agree to disagree, or so we're gonna leave it at that.
I guess that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. So Terry, now are there any other public comments? You're okay? You're okay. Okay, we'll close it to public comments. So Terry, the ball's in your court to.
Well, I guess one of the biggest things that I think both parties have addressed to right here is the dumpsters, and either they need to be moved or they need to be on a more regular basis instead of once a week, twice a week pickup on that, which I can stress that to the project people. Question with regards to the height, these are only gonna be 2-story buildings. So they're not gonna be 3 stories or like you see some apartment projects where they're 3.5 stories and 1/2 in the ground.
Is it one apartment, 2 stories, or is it one level for one level apartment and another level apartment?
It will be one apartment has the lower and upper above it. So you'll have living space down below, you'll have bedrooms upstairs. Traffic control, seems to be a concern. I wasn't around here when this was all one way, but now that it's 2-way, there are gonna be other options because we are adding the drive coming out for the service drive on the backside. What I have found is, depending upon where the people work, what's the quickest way out for them? Whether they're going south or going west or going north, they're gonna take the shortest route. When they made this 2-way, it probably eliminated all of everybody going the same way, basically making it difficult for you to get out. So it's probably a little bit easier, but we're adding some other options for them to exit for the new buildings on that. Sunbathing, I don't know what to say about that. If they're wearing clothes, you can't call the police or anything, so.
He was out there in a Speedo.
That's a swimsuit, so not that I would ever be seen in a Speedo, but some people have, no morals. That would be
It's a privacy issue is my thing.
well, I understand, but and I will suggest up at that northwest corner where people have been walking through, that maybe the solution there would be to put a short section of fence across there to keep them from taking your shortcut to wherever they're going up that way. I made a note of it here on my plan, and then same time we'll investigate whether that drain is in the alley. It may have been an old city sewer drain for that area. If it's on the property itself, we'll look to see.
Okay.
If it is, it's old. A lot of times, most of the older schools, like, they're 100 years old. I wasn't, well, some people think I'm old enough to have been around then, but, yeah, they're gonna be clay tile that were put in, and they're very susceptible for roots growing in them. And maybe the thing to do is I'll suggest to see whose it is. If it is a city thing, we can suggest to have it roto-rooted. If it's on the property itself, we can maybe have it roto-rooted and have the tile
It
pleat.
may not even be hooked up to anything.
And that may be the case. It may be just a drywall back there, So it can be investigated. We'll see whose it is and address it from that then. Building.
I mean, that's what the gentleman does now, is goes back there and runs a electric roto-rooter through it and drains it out. very nice
Yeah.
about getting to it, and I emailed.
And I think that kind of answers, I think, all of the questions that were brought up here. We're trying to be a good neighbor. I know there's a need for housing in Syracuse in the worst kind of way. I've got a similar project in Middlebury right now, and their school itself has lost 150 students, which means they're losing $1.5 million going into the school coffer to educate kids. So we're trying to, create home sites for people. Whether they have kids or not, we don't have any control on that, but, we are trying to be a good neighbor. I've taken notes on everything that you folks have brought to the attention, and we're gonna try to get all of them addressed.
Thank you.
Did they make the atrium in the original building a playground for kids?
Did they?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
I couldn't tell you. I've never been inside the atrium.
Okay, I know
inside
at
the
one
building.
time.
What I've heard, I do know a few people that live in there, I have heard there is an indoor playground in there as
That's
well
right.
as basketball court.
Okay.
So they do have a place to play, cause I noticed there was nothing on the plans here.
I heard that there was an indoor, like an athletic
Correct.
facility in there, like a health club, and that might be what.
And I do believe there was a playground as well inside.
Okay.
I don't know if it's used, but I know there's something for the kids to
I
do
know,
inside.
when we went on, we took a tour when they had the open house, when they made the first edition. And the original school had an open courtyard. And at that time, they were saying they were gonna be putting a playground in there. I know there's children in there, I don't see a lot of them, so I was just wondering. There is a playground and swing set in the back.
There is
Oh,
one
there
in
is
the back. I saw that when I was doing the parking space count. I went back there, drove down that
Yeah.
one-way alley that you were talking about right there to see what was back on the backside back there. I saw the dumpster, and it was full, as well as the playground back there, which I was glad to see they had, the playground, kind of a park area for people that may have a pet. And, I was glad to see those amenities were available to be something that they could offer, so. I'll make all of these notes and suggestions and accommodate those then. Does the board have any other questions for me?
Gary, if the board, hearing the dumpster issues, if the board would make that a condition that dumpster would be located up in either the northeast corner of that parking lot or somewhere on the east end, do you see your folks having any issues with that?
I don't, really.
And on top of that, then kind of hearing the other concern, that a condition that fencing and I'd say define it clearly, what you would expect, if that's something you're thinking, but some kind of fencing up in that northeast corner.
Northwest corner?
Northwest corner,
Okay.
Gary. Yes, northwest, if that's what you're thinking, but I'm just throwing that out.
I mean, I do think it's a good idea for where their alley, was vacated. I do think this being such a large premises, that it would make sense to at least have where that alley was vacated, to at least have some sort of fencing, whether it be chain link or anything, just to deter people. Not to say they're not gonna go around it. You can have a fence
Matt,
anywhere.
maybe is that old alley been vacated?
So, that's the thing, it was never really a platted alley. It was
Oh,
never
it
a
was
platted
just
alley.
used as an alley.
This was all
Okay.
originally part of the public works. If you go back to the original plat of Syracuse, this goes back to the, power and electric company properties. These were then split out, this was set aside. The school maintained that, and I think through, just because it was easy for them and good for their access point, they used it as an alley. And it had been a alley by use more than anything, it cut off further south.
So it was
Or the
never
service drive.
It was never a platted alley like.
But it was a service.
It was
Is that no longer a service alley? Okay. I just didn't know, sometimes NIPSCO makes one in there for,
Totally separate than.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Utility, yeah. More history than anybody.
I have a history now, so
Yeah.
I love digging into those old plat books.
Oh, this area is it's a mess.
Dates back to 1830s.
Yes.
Butternut Street on the far right-hand side.
Over here?
Yes. I can't remember, is that, I don't know if that's actually a
No, Matt, it's actually property owned by the school. That was their access drive back to where they're located.
If you look Get the area up and turn off of the layer. Technically, the ditch is where Butternut Street is dedicated.
Okay,
And the school built their access drive
just to the,
adjacent to it
Okay.
to the west.
okay.
Cause I scratched my head when I was looking at it too, when the guys did the topography out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that's the ditch.
Yeah.
So,
Well, at least they didn't do that.
yeah. Do we have any, did we receive any emails, any
Nothing
letters?
on file.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Terry? Okay, thank you, Terry. So hopefully Terry answered your concerns and questions. I completely understand about the traffic and a lot of people, but if you were to ask the school corporation or the town, they are very, very happy that there's a lot of people over at Urban Oaks. So, and that's sort of where we're in a hard place, you know, trying to make sure you're happy, but we also want to do what's right for Syracuse and the school system. Yeah.
Well, I lost that battle on the first go round, so
Yeah.
I've moved on from that,
Okay.
but we gotta coexist.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Terry's shown, as far as from developer side,
Yeah.
you know, it's hard for the residents, you know, say a developer versus renters. So, and making sure that they stay
Fully closed in
Yeah.
the backyard.
and stay out of your property. So,
Yeah, because that's not gonna go over well.
Yeah. So,
It's just an issue, you know, we don't know. I mean, he works very early in the morning, that's why I'm out at 3:30 in the morning to take the dogs out. We're all on a routine.
Yeah.
But when I catch you walking through my yard,
It's a good way to.
you know, if I was somebody who carried a weapon with me for self-protection, and you get caught out there, you know, it's gonna be bad for somebody.
Yeah.
And then everybody, in the long run, is gonna be bad for.
I understand. Okay. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts as far as
I mean, as far as,
dumpster?
I think the dumpsters we have to figure out. We've got to relocate those, I think would be our best option. I don't even think saying we'll empty them more, I think we relocate them to a better location.
As we say to the front.
I would agree with that. And where they put them on the east side, as long as we're not getting overflow of dumpster into the creek, would be my main concern there.
Now, Brandon, when you say east side, are you talking all the dumpsters will be over here, or are you talking a dumpster on the east side of what I'm gonna call building one?
I mean, that's hard too, because as a builder myself, I don't really know, I'm looking at a shooting print of not knowing where any kickouts are, where any
And the only
locations
reason I
are.
ask that is I know human nature.
I know, they're gonna throw it close to the dumpster.
Yeah.
I know how that works.
Yeah, that works quite well.
So I guess just clear definition for us as well as them, so they know what they're leaving with.
I know at one time, we suggested on the first go round with this dumpster issue, because the dumpster issue came up after the original, meetings, and it was kind of a one-on-one with me and a council member and the building maintenance guy, or management guy. We suggested there's this little parking spot here to put the dumpster from beside my house over there, but they made the argument saying that they didn't think the, trash trucks can get in there and get access, but they have it as parking space. So I don't know if there's a way that can be altered so they can get in there.
So what yardage, I mean, this is a big dumpster?
Oh, yeah, it's a big
Okay,
one.
so is each building gonna have a smaller dumpster that will be dumped into the large dumpster, or are these tenants required to take their trash from each building to the large dumpster?
Right now, the way it currently is the, probably the tenants on the north side of the school building use the one on the back.
Okay.
The ones on the south side of the building use the one on the south, across where the neighbors are here.
So if they were to,
And maybe the thing is to make them maybe have it smaller in a location close to each of the buildings, such that, I don't know if making them smaller is the issue, if there's that much being put into them. Maybe
Right.
it's just we need more of them so that they're at a location where, you know, maybe the truck can come down Brooklyn from the west, come east and pick them up in that easterly side then.
That was my other recommendation, would have been more smaller dump. Just looking at it, the lot, if there's gonna be one dumpster location for the property, it's gonna be a mess. Well, no, I'm gonna say, watch the spots for loading here. There's area for them to turn around and. Correct, and that's just me not.
I do think multiple dumpsters though, I mean, as somebody that's lived in an apartment complex, if I'm in,
Then you don't wanna walk all the way the other
well,
end.
right, if I've gotta take my trash from the building down here on the right, all the way to that back left spot, I mean, I'm gonna do that when it's absolutely necessary, and other than that, I'm gonna just keep my trash as long as I can. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
And we know people are gonna do that, unfortunately. So, if you want my honest opinion, I think that maybe keeping a couple dumpsters for the school building itself, but I do feel like, and then maybe this is my personal opinion, that almost each one of these buildings needs their own dumpster. And it doesn't have to be used, but I feel like they have to have a dumpster. Truthfully, I really do. And where we put those, I mean, if we can put them,
And there is a dumpster up at that southeast corner of the school already.
right,
So I just.
Yeah, right next to my house.
No,
No.
well, no.
At the corner of the school.
At the school, up by where the old loading area was. You can see it on the big town.
That's over where the, probably where the cafeteria was.
Yeah.
Okay, down on the other
That's
side.
like that southeast corner.
Right. But
Yeah, they do have one back there.
I guess, yeah, giving them clear guidance if that's what you're thinking.
I mean, and I think if we were to do something like that, if we were to maybe say, Matt, tell me if I'm wrong, would there be an instruction to maybe put one like you know how they do in a lot of places where they're closed in a fence, obviously, so they're not aesthetically unpleasing. To put one on each side of the driveway on each one going in, you know, whether you put it on this far right side and then right on the right side of the buildings over here, so where the trash guy could just come in, pick them up, dump them, but then each building would technically have its own dumpster as well.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I think you want to be careful of the drive to make sure you're not, since you're probably gonna have a 6-foot or 8-foot tall fence around it.
Blocking sight lines.
Yeah, that's, just right off, I'd say the northeast corner of that parking lot would make the most sense. Building 1, I think, is where you're seeing the most concern. I don't think, and I'm labeling these buildings, they're not labeled, but 2 and 3 on the east side.
Well, and that would be my other concern is where those.
If you place them at the exit drive, people will throw it on the hood of their car, they get to the dumpster and then throw them out there.
Right.
So you've got control locations, those 3 locations, as you had indicated, Brandon, that location would probably be an ideal one for those 3 new buildings and reposition the one that's adjacent to the residence right here.
Correct, and that's kind of and that was in my thought line was, I think it's just gonna be a cleaner transaction for everybody. And by doing so, maybe won't overflow the other ones as badly.
And she had indicated, people are basically lazy, so
Right.
it's gotta be easy for them. And
That was
put
my
it
other
on-
concern.
Put it on the hood of the car when as you're driving out the parking lot, makes it as simple as you can.
That's kind of where I was thinking too, like logistic wise.
Unfortunately, we run into, people see a dumpster out of the community and they come and dump.
Well, and that happens at the boat launch. I live right by the boat launch and I see it all the time. I mean, they view it as a public dumpster even though it's not. And I mean, I've got neighbors, and as far as trash in your yard, I mean, I live in a house on Front Street and I get trash in my yard and where does it come from? I have no idea. And there's no dumpster there. But I think that's always just gonna be a
Blow out
problem
from
with
the truck.
people, you know?
Every
and-
Monday when the trash truck.
Yeah, you know,
I've
and
got
they-
trash all over my yard,
correct.
cause it blows right back out of the truck.
And then when the wind blows,
Carries it wherever your house is.
I seen him come in with a truck one day, 3 times. And he was just coming out of the neighborhood and just kept loading his garbage in there. And he filled it up so the residents couldn't get their stuff in there. So then they were setting it all inside the fencing.
So maybe as well as that, in your notes, Terry, put some signage on the dumpsters for no public dumping.
Yep.
My other concern
Put up a
is,
sign that says being watched by a camera.
if there's a storm,
Put that
where
out
do
with
all
the
these people
endless
go to
Sunday
during a
If they know
storm?
they're on camera, they're not going to do
Well, the
it.
main building is technically a storm shelter.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
well, we
all-
do
it's
have
all
some
concrete.
cameras, yeah.
right.
So,
We
I
that
was
would
just
be-
curious,
yeah.
we had that tornado at Hollywood last year, we're like, where's everybody go?
yeah, I mean, the gymnasium on the original building, luckily, we have the capacity to hold
Right,
enough people in the instance of a storm.
right,
Because you gotta think, if, the kids are in school,
yeah,
it's gotta be safe. So they would luckily have the capacity as far as storm shelter goes in the main school.
that was just another one of my thoughts, fire and, storm stuff.
Any more questions?
I was just gonna suggest, I'll work with Matt on dumpster positioning so that my notes that I've been taking, kind of with what he's been marking down, that we can pick the best location for lazy people that are renting and for protecting the neighbors' properties as well.
So we'll just put in a vague on ours that's not, we don't pick the exact location to
Yeah,
be
just to
approved by the
relocate.
planning commission director. Correct, yeah.
And then the only other thing to add to an upcoming, if there is a motion to approve, another condition is
The plat has to be.
eventually a
Yeah.
new plat.
Recorded, yeah. The only other two conditions I would say, if you're approving one, that prior to any permitting, the lots must be combined. However they wanna do it, combined.
Okay.
And then two, any action we're taking is contingent on the drainage board granting a variance there too. And that's gonna change their plan to some extent anyways on that, those 2 years. If it's not, but.
I would make that a motion.
Okay, so it includes the drainage board, must be combined, location of the dumpster, and then, approving the use
The use.
as well as the spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion, for the approval with these conditions. And, it's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. It passes.
Okay, so that.
With those
Yep,
conditions.
approval of both the variance and the exception with the 3 conditions that, the dumpster location will be approved by the planning commission director, through discussion. The drainage board variance is granted, as discussed, and that all lots are combined prior to any permit being issued.
Yeah. And does the drainage board also review the,
No.
the future drainage?
So that actually, Matt, that will go back through us.
Okay.
Yep, so the drainage plan, as part of the permitting process, they will have to do a full-blown drainage plan.
Okay.
That will get reviewed in by our consulting engineer
Okay.
to make sure it meets that. And then, in addition to that, they're gonna have to work through some flood permitting as well, and they're aware of that also.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
The last thing, there may be an amendment. Was there any thought as far as the, northwest corner?
We do need to add that, I would like to see a fence up there where the alley was proposed, I guess, would have been. It wasn't even a real alley, but just at least in that area, so that it blocks their property off.
Yeah. Would you accept that
Yes.
as an amendment?
Yep.
Okay.
I would second.
All those in favor of that amendment to the original motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so we've added the amendment about the fence.
Thank you.
So up on the northwest corner.
Okay, so for clarification for staff's purposes, because we'll be the ones who answer the question.
Yeah.
It's gonna be in that northwest corner, I don't think there's any doubt. Is there a specification of how far you want the fence to go each direction? I know the intent is to keep people off,
I mean, typically a right of way without going into someone's property is 12 feet.
so you want that, from that corner, 12 foot both directions?
I would say yes, sir, just to be safe.
that should keep people off his property as well as divert any traffic back there.
And then if it doesn't stop, I mean, you're more than welcome to put up a fence.
Well, that was
Fences
my,
make
that was
great
my
neighbors.
thought to begin with, just
Well,
spurring
the neighbors to the south of us, right next door, they do have fence up around their yard, so.
we're just gonna continue.
Yeah, they come over to you.
Yeah. So you will need a flood permit for that when you get to that point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Since it's in the floodplain.
Okay.
So,
But right now, you'll have 24-foot of fence that should defer.
Okay.
So unless they're walking all the way around the back, where
Right.
you really don't see it, they already have a fence on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but we've had to tell people, you know, hey, this is private ground all the way through here, you know? It's just kind of,
Terry, thank you very much, representing them.
The people that came and told us what needs to be addressed.
So, as we finish up our paperwork, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. I'll make that motion. I'll second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Well, it's unanimous, so. And
Also making a motion, we adjourn.
we'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night. All those opposed? Okay. Thank you again for coming and speaking your mind. That's why we're here.
my other neighbors could have been here, but one's with his mother and the other one is with his cousin that's passing away, so.
Oh,
where they need to be.
Yeah.
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 Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.